G'day, guys. Welcome back to the Still Syndicate podcast. I'm your host, Mark, and my co-host, Pittsburgh on. G'day, Pittsburgh on. What's happening, mate, over across the pond, wherever you are?
Right. Yeah, not a lot. It's dark. It's not cold. And breaking news, mate. It isn't raining.
Well, there you... Hang on a minute. Stop the presses. the whole of UK has gone outside to celebrate.
Street parties galore.
I wanted to ask you to start the show off, right? So we're having a bit of fun here talking Steelers, but we're out in the off season now. But how do you represent your team on the weekend? Do you go to? I know you have your family and stuff, but do you go to bars, cafes, and rep the Steelers? Is that what you do?
I wish. If I go out, if I go out to like cafe or something like that, I wear Steelers t-shirt or my Steelers hoodie, Steelers cap maybe. Yeah, I've got loads and loads of Steelers stuff. So yeah, I always will rep the Steelers, and you do get some looks like, what the hell is he wearing?
Do you ever get anyone coming up to you and saying, "Hey, mate, who's that? Who do you follow?" Or "I'm a big fan." Like not of yourself just yet. We're not that big just yet, but of the team.
No, I haven't really yet. I mean, I've had only people who come up to you and speak to you really are other NFL fans. So I had a Jags fan come up and speak to me in a local supermarket the other day. Packers fan in Starbucks. And I saw the worst thing when I was at work the other day. I saw the most horrific thing ever.
Did someone fall over?
No. I saw someone. No, that'd be funny. I saw someone wearing a Baker Mayfield jersey.
Jeez, that's commitment. That's commitment
awful.
for Baker Mayfield. You know what's always funny about when someone falls over? There's always this like sense of like, is the guy okay? Is the girl okay? And then about 5 seconds later, once they're okay, damn, that was funny. Like how funny was that?
Oh, yeah.
Like, I was playing pickleball the other day, right? And this lady into a like 60s, 65 playing pickleball. She went like full hammer and tongs right at the ball and chased down to the net. And she just like tackled the net like she was a linebacker. Like she dropped the shoulder to take out the legs. Like she tripped over and she was just going that fast and lost momentum and fell right into the net, took all the net down. And the ball went over, but I don't think she won because she took the net out, right? and everyone's like, "Oh my!" And I was like, "Jeez!" And then I'm like, "Are you okay? You okay?" And she's like, "Oh, I'm fine." And then it probably would have hurt days later, but then I actually pissed myself laughing about 10 seconds later because I was like to my mate Darren, did you see that? Did you see that? Did you see that lady fall over? He's like, yeah, I did. I was like, how funny was it? Like, I know it was bad, but she absolutely took the net out of its place and she gave the big old shoulder, the big old James Harrison, or even sometimes. Do you remember when Troy Polamalu used to use the shoulder to tackle? Like there was tackle he used his back, right? Like take away the legs, and it was one of the funniest things I think I've ever seen or this year at least. But the first moment you're like, I hope she's okay. And then when she is, you're like, that's funny. That's so funny.
That sounds funny, man. That sounds good. You should have videoed it. You could have gone on like, I don't know if you guys have got you being framed or anything like that over there. $250.
I was playing, right? I was playing pickleball at the time. And by the way, I'll put it out there. TJ Watt versus me one-on-one. I'll beat you. That's probably one sport I could beat TJ Watt in, 100%. No, not 100%, 95%. I'm pretty good at things now. I think Minka's probably more fitter. Minka would be probably harder because TJ's more stockier, right?
Yeah.
I think Minka would be probably harder to play than TJ Watt. TJ Watt, I think I'll be able to outpace him because TJ Watt's only short and or the breath wise in small bursts. Where pickleball goes for a long time.
Who was the other one? There was three of them, wasn't there? Minka, TJ,
Alex Highsmith. Yeah. So the three fellas and Meg was there playing pickleball, and they were playing on the hard surface too. They were playing on like a tennis surface, so that's like you don't want to fall over. I don't know who it was. Oh, it might have been it was Chris I was talking through from BTSC, and he said to me, why do we all give Juju slack about the challenge with walking up the steps, right? And here's TJ Watt and these fellas playing pickleball when there can be a lot of injuries happening on the court, because if you twist your ankle, if you step wrong, if you slide and graze a knee, or pretty hard. But at the same time, you got to let the fellas have fun, right? They need to go out there and have fun, don't they? Like,
you can't wrap them in cotton wool and say you can't do anything.
Nah, and then if you did that, they probably wouldn't like you wouldn't be ready. And no one really talks about like, well, what about the gym? We haven't got cameras in the gym saying, well, you can't rep this much, you can't do this. I think what hurts the most, I think, for the NFL is those non-football injuries, right? Where they're in training camp, and we're talking about training camp today. So today's theme. Oh, did I forget the video again?
You forgot the video again, man.
All right, here we go. Okay.
Cheesy.
I got the video again, but I'll stop doing that, by the way. I'll stop doing that when we start to get serious. But we're talking about training camp today. We're talking about storylines going into training camp, or storylines heading into training camp. Also, that's a pretty good segue. That's we can talk about whatever we want and then just play that video, and then we're talking about Steelers. That's a good segue. But training camp is coming very soon. I think it's like next month, like 27th of July. 1 month away. So we can talk about some storylines heading into. I've got a few, and if you've got a few after my questions, Owen, feel free to bring them up, and then we'll do the mailbag at the end. But I want to start with, because this is quite important to me. I just want to see this happen. I want to see this work in this offense. One of the big ones for me is the second running back. What are your thoughts about this overall storyline or camp battle between Najee's got the job, but second running back? What is happening there? There's a lot to unpack, right?
There is. I mean, you've got what at the moment. You're looking at that way too early depth chart that ESPN put out the other day. Is it Benny Snell and McFarlane, Terrell Edmonds' brothers on there, Matteo Durant, Jalen Warren, who are the UDFAs, the guys one's from Duke and one was from, let's say, Carolina, and possibly, maybe, I don't know, can't remember. But yeah, you know what concerns me, Mark, is I know the Steelers seem to like Benny Snell because he contributes to special teams. But after Najee, there's just nothing. There's nothing there. And yeah, I know Benny Snell contributes well on special teams and so on. And I know that, Ant Mack has been held up as a change of pace back. But what have those guys done since they've come into the NFL to show us that they are an NFL running back capable? And that's one of the biggest concerns I've got going forward.
Well, nothing really. So probably the most interesting thing, that's why I wanted to bring it up first, because it's going to be a very intriguing part of this offense and the camp battle and the storyline, because who will be the number two, or who will be featured behind Najee? Now, Najee, you go.
So say what were you looking at again is, I think, a situation where we're going to run Najee into the ground again.
I hope not.
But there's no other choice. That's the problem, I think. I know it's hard because I know Najee wants to be out there all the time because that's the kind of player that he is. But you're going to be looking at between 350 and 400 touches again for him, because you put Snell in, it's a waste of a snap. You put McFarlane in. McFarlane has been a healthy scratch more often than not last season. So there's obviously not a great deal of faith in him there. Snell can't find gaps. He's got no peripheral vision. He even runs in the back of his own blockers. I mean, that's how bad he is. But I don't know. I think he's got Daniel McCullers' pictures, naked pictures of Mike Tomlin. I think that's the way he gets in the roster every year.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, because as well, Najee Harris, I think it might have been Tomlin or someone. One of the coaches said that he will get reduced load of snaps and probably around 75%, because you can't run him how he ran last year with 80%, 85%. But for me, if there's a chance that the undrafted guys, step up, because you think about it, realistically speaking, like I'm a big fan. Actually, I like Trey Edmonds. I like what he does. He's a bit of a power back, and I like what he does for the Steelers, for the special teams, and for what I've seen. However, in reality speaking, he won't be second, number 2 or 3. He maybe even have a cut this year. Although you think now, well, this is the best, I guess, breakout year or perfect year to be running back number 2 for Snell or McFarlane, because if you can't show it this year, then really what's the overall point? So do the Steelers go out and get another free agent? I know you had some you wrote a question the other day on your Pittsburgh Owen Facebook, right?
Yeah.
About who were they, the options?
So I've done some research. I did some more research today into actually, because I'll put out a video on Pittsburgh about another running back, veteran running back they could look at. So the 4 guys that I've identified with, the 3 that I put out the other day on Pittsburgh Owen was Wayne Gallman, Jordan Howard, and Justin Jackson. And then obviously the 4th one, which I've done a video for, will be going out on. I think the video goes out tomorrow on Pittsburgh Owen, which is about David Johnson, former Cardinal and Texan.
I think Johnson. I actually looked into Wayne Gallman last year. I thought we could have picked him up too, because he had a pretty good year. I'm looking at his stats now with New York Giants, but something must have happened in 2021. I didn't follow him too much, but he didn't play in 2021. Maybe he got injured. Maybe he wasn't actually part of the team. But he had a pretty good, decent, backup role too with the Giants there. He only started in 2020. He started 10 games, but before that, in the 3 years, he was getting some pretty good numbers. Like in his first year, he got 4.3 yards a carry. So maybe Gorman could be that guy. However, at the same time, Gorman might be the same kind of guy that Snell is. But I did like how he ran the football, and it's funny because come week 1 or 2, if Snell or McFarlane go out there and light it up, and when I say light it up, I mean like get 50 yards and help this team push the ball forward, then this question is kind of like, it's not answered, but it's been written in pencil, right?
Yeah.
Let's at least have something there, because, if this Steelers team just goes to Najee the whole season, that will diminish our Super Bowl chances. I think.
I mean, I think there's a possibility they will do something, because I don't think Khan's done yet. I really don't. I think Khan is so determined to turn this roster into his team, and so and it's not Colbert's. Colbert gave us the legacy, but I think Khan wants to put the finishing touches on it. And to me, Khan is trying to tool this team up to be a Super Bowl contender this year. I mean, Ogunjobi is a class act. He's a good player. He's just come off a career year for Cincinnati. I can see them going out and getting someone, a running back too, an experienced veteran running back too, whether that be a Justin Jackson, who's used to been a backup running back because he was back up to Austin Eckler in Los Angeles, or Jordan Howard. But I think the concern over Jordan Howard is that he's a very similar running back to Najee Harris, so you don't get much of a change there. Or maybe that's what you want. You don't want that change. But David Johnson, I see similarities between him and D'Angelo Williams, who we brought in 2015 to back up Le'Veon Bell, who did a quite decent job when Bell went down injured. So, and plus David Johnson's good at catching the ball out of the backfield as well. He looks, from the highlights I was watching today of him, he looks to be a decent player actually.
Used to be really a number 1 back, really. David Johnson, pretty much.
2016, he was an All-Pro. He ran for over 1,000 yards, and I think he had over 2,000 all-purpose yards that year.
Yeah. And that's 8 years ago. But like I look at the stats now of Benny Snell, and last year he had 98 yards and McFarlane had 3 yards. So 101 yards for the second running backs. Just can't cut it. And this is like year 4? Year 4 for Snell and year 3 for Anthony McFarlane. It's time now to put up or shut up, really. And maybe you are right. Maybe they go out to the free agent market and they sign somebody and send a message, and that signee then will fight for the position to be number 2 and be the clear number 2. I think that can happen. Any more thoughts on that before I move on to the next topic?
No, I agree. I think we do need to strengthen it. I don't want a situation like we had last year, where that game against the Ravens when Najee got injured, I think was a lot of a case of wear and tear on him, and then in the playoffs against Kansas City, he just wasn't up to it, was he? He just struggled big time because he was injured. He wasn't fully fit, and then that obviously hurt the offense even more.
It only makes sense to have a two back second. I know that Tomlin likes to use the bell cow over and over and over and over and over. However, it only makes sense to have a second running back that can get you 300, 400 yards a year and some touchdowns, some key downs, some times where you're leading by 14 points in the fourth quarter, and Najee's done his work and put out the closer. That's what they need.
100%.
They need the closer. They need Najee to feed for 3 quarters. And I'll do an analogy here for my Manly Seagulls. And I know you have rugby league over there as well. But we have a player. He's now injured, right? But he's like the heart of the team. He's the fullback. And they play him like pretty much about 70 to 65 minutes a game. And when they're winning, if they go out and win like 30 to 10, they take him off. That's what I would do with Najee. I would go out there and play him from first, second, and third quarter. And if you can control the game that way, and the game goes your way, where you can instill, bring in a closer like Snell, that he claims to be a closer, that would be perfect for the Steelers. But it's just not happening because in those later drives, you'll be picking up first downs. Of course, you might be running into a heavier defensive set as well because they know you're running the football. But some of these players like Snell or Snell, self-proclaimed himself to be Benny Snell football, where go out there and get the yards. And we've seen flashes of that. We have seen flashes of that. But last year, you can just definitely tell there's a massive difference from Najee getting stuff in the backfield to then falling 5 yards forward to where Snell gets stuff in the backfield. And it's almost like he's out of rhythm. Since he gets stuff, he cannot move that ball in the next 3 or 4 tries. And then it's like you said, a waste of a snap, waste of a drive. And that changes the whole game. It's crazy.
So, yeah, I mean, if you look at the Rams, like the Rams, Super Bowl champion LA Rams last season, they were without Cam Akers, their first choice running back, but Sony Michel rushed for 845 yards, and their backup running back Henderson rushed for 688 yards. So you've got 2 backs going over there.
Exactly, that's the key. And then I think for the long season, the Steelers definitely need some sort of a running back number 2. I don't know how they're going to do it, but you need something. Now, I want to talk about another thing heading into training camp, and there was you brought up the other day, I think it was on Pittsburgh on your Facebook page, but I want to talk about the top 5 defense. So what are your thoughts about this whole, maybe not more say the defense being top 5, but what are your thoughts on this defense going into training camp? What is the storylines that maybe the media might create around the defense? Because I know you sent me a text the other day, and I watched this video of some bloke on NFL, and he said they have good players, but they haven't got a good defense. And I was like, Isn't that exactly the same? Isn't the players part of the defense? I don't understand that logic. I don't know who that was.
I don't understand it either, especially when they're working with coaches of the caliber of Brian Flores, Terrell Austin, Carl Dunbar, Grady Brown. These are all fantastic coaches as well. So I think the NFL that top 5 was rubbish anyway, because they also didn't have the LA Rams in there. The Rams have got Jalen Ramsey, Aaron Donald,
really.
Wagner.
Do you remember who the top five was for the defense?
Philadelphia Eagles.
Okay,
okay. I can see.
They're nasty. They're nasty, man. They've always been nasty. Like
considering that Jordan Davis isn't even in their starting 11 rotation, and he's he's going to be a fantastic player. Los Angeles Chargers, who I agree with, I think they've got an awesome D going into this year with Joey Bosa, Jerry Tillery, Khalil Mack, J.C. Jackson, Sante Samuel, so on and so forth. Who else was there? Green Bay Packers, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Buffalo Bills.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Well, Bills are up there for sure, but it's I don't know who that bloke was on the NFL Network, but the video he sent me, his first words were, the players are really good. The defense, I don't think so. I was like, do they understand who we have it on the defense?
I think this D is going to be fantastic. I think it will be top 5. I know why they're questioning it, but I don't think it's right. They're questioning it because of the secondary. That's why they're questioning it. The front 7 is top 5. I don't think anyone can argue against that. But because we haven't got a CB1, a recognized CB1, like you've got players the caliber of what Darius Slay, James Bradbury at the Eagles, you've got J.C. Jackson at the Chargers, you've got Tre'Davious White with the Bills, all those players. But I honestly think that that's a mistake, because I think that Levi Wallace will be fantastic this season. I really do think that he is going to be first class.
Well, also, a lot of the NFL big media guys are saying as well that the Steelers paid too much for Minka, and they don't understand how valuable he is to our team. They probably don't recognize how valuable Terrell Edmonds is to our team as well. So I know you and I still have the black and gold goggles on. However, I'm excited to watch this defense because Highsmith into year 3, TJ Watt is crazy out there, and Cameron Hayward was having more fun this offseason. I think he kind of knows that the offense might give him a chance to stay off the field, right?
Yeah.
If they can get some first downs, stay off the field, come out. If Harvin does a good kicking game where you can put him in the 10 or 20, then put pressure on the other team. You have an explosive unit out there on defense. No Joe Hayden anymore. That's fair enough. He might be going to the Browns, but there are guys like Wallace and Sutton who are now taking over the team.
Yeah.
Right? Well, Sutton's taking over the team. He's a leader. Now, some people want to trade Sutton, but they're crazy. Sutton's all part of it, man. And Witherspoon is coming to his own as well. So this can definitely go from I'm guaranteeing like it will be top 10, but with the pieces that they added to the puzzle, it definitely can move into top 5. And just depends how well the offense can help counterbalance that from running the football and passing the football to getting first downs and establishing drives to then have on the other side to where give TJ Watt and Bush and no one's even talking about Miles Jack. So I'm intrigued to see us, upset the world again for some reason that we're gonna we have no chance against the Bengals. I don't understand it, and we'll tackle this as a season as we go into training camp. But with that top 5 defense, what is your who are the camp battles for the cornerback positions you said there?
I think you've obviously got you've got Cam Sutton, Akella Witherspoon, and Levi Wallace competing for the 2 outside cornerback jobs. So it's 3 dogs, 2 bones, isn't it? And behind that, there isn't really anyone who's going to come through and threaten on the outside. You've got James Pierre, who was pretty much benched at the end of last season. Justin Lane, who I think is someone who could be cut this year because what's he done since he came in? He's a 3rd-round draft pick, but he's been pretty much a disaster.
Mm-hmm.
Carlins Patel, who's a UDFA. You've got Chris Steele, who's a UDFA. Arthur Mollett, who's more a slot corner. Trey Norwood, who you can flex in as a slot or a dime again. But I think, it's going to be a 3-way battle between Cam Sutton, Levi Wallace, and Akella Witherspoon.
Yeah, I'm telling you, because I was watching some of those videos with Cam Sutton. He's becoming one of my favorites on the team somehow. I don't know why, but he seems like he's being a bit of a leader out there, and a leader of men, right? Mm-hmm. We all know that Mink is a leader, but he's so silent, a bit like Troy, just does his job and he's there. But when I was watching a video on the Steelers.com, Cameron Sutton was consistently saying, talk to him, communicate, and telling his players to get around, and that's what you need on this defense. You need some communication because in all 3 phases, really, safety, Minka's got it. Linebackers, I think Miles Jack is going to be a leader out there too, and Devin Bush can be that sneaky assassin as well. That can help, but he can sly away into the shadows. And then TJ Watt can be communicated. It's like I don't understand how they're not giving us a rap. Like it doesn't make any sense. I know this is going to be one of the hopefully one of the best seasons because we are an underdog for some reason. It's been one of the best off seasons. Do you have any camp storylines for myself to answer before I go on to my last one?
Not really. I can't think of it at the moment. No, not off the top.
I'll play this. All right, and we're back.
Oh, God. Here you go. Wide receivers, right?
Yep.
How many wide receivers do we take, and who misses out?
Okay, let me look at the roster, but I think we take 6. I'm trying to think back to my 2 early 53-man roster I did on my Steel Nation Australia, but let me have a look. So, okay, we have Deontay Claypool, they're staying. Okay, Gunner's staying, Pickens is staying, Austin is staying. That's 5, right?
Yeah.
And I think Anthony Miller, I think they have 6.
Mm-hmm. What about Boykin?
Oh, that's true. What about Boykin? Well, that's another camp battle, really. So, in my opinion, it's Deontay, Chase Claypool, Pickens. That's 3 for sure. And you have to put Calvin Austin on the field somewhere. You can't lose that bloke.
Yeah.
And then Gunnar Olszewski has to be playing, especially that's 5. So it has to be either 5 or 6. It won't be 7. So it's probably either. I don't know. What do you think, Boykin or Miller in that scenario?
And then you got Cody White. His dad's in the front office now, man.
Yeah, but I still want to see him play. I want to. If he gets in because of that reason, we're scratching our head. But do you think 6 or 5?
I'd say possibly 6 because I think Miller has got an opportunity to play because of the fact that he has that understanding with Trubisky. If the intention is that Trubisky is going to be QB1. That's
It
going to
is
be the big
true. It
thing.
is true though. But then why would you go out there and get Boykin, who's a pretty tall, tall
The one
receiver?
thing that Boykin got that Miller hasn't got is the fact that Boykin is a very, very, very good special teams player, and we all know how much the Steelers like their
Well,
backups to be special teams players.
can he be a gunner? Because I always think one of the most underrated players in the NFL and in teams in football is the gunner. I used to love Darius Hayward-Bay playing the game, and a lot of Steel fans will say, "Oh, Darius Hayward-Bay, he wasn't that good." No, no, no. Go back and watch his play. He knew his role. He knew his role with the team. He had a few touchdowns from Ben, and he knew where to be at what times. And he played such an important role for the Steelers during the season. And he played gunner, and he was a former number one. So would Boykin go out there and play gunner, where you have to chase down the punter and get there first and put pressure and pretty much stop a return? Like, it's a pretty important position.
He could do. I mean, a lot of that depends on whether James Pierre makes the roster, because obviously James Pierre was playing that role last year. So I think if the intention is to go in without Pierre this year, that he is a practice squad guy, then yeah, there is a very real possibility that Boykin could be the gunner, and he could be in the rotation just because he's a good special teams player.
Yeah, what I noticed too, even on that gunner position, and I'm not an expert, what I noticed by watching the film though, or the football, is the gunners on the outside kind of run down the field to put pressure on the punter to step forward, or make sure they're not going outside. And the likes of like Killebrew, or in the past like Matavkovic, will come in and short tackle. You know what I'm saying? So there's a lot to this game, like the punting game and the return game, where you don't want to see like the old days, like Devin Hester go out there and beat you. So if Boykin were to play, like a gunner role, it would help him get into the team, right? It's just there's not many positions, is there? When you think about like the depth, and you don't want to lose players, you don't want to put Calvin Austin on the practice squad and then lose him, because someone will pick him up.
Yeah, you couldn't do that. I mean, the guy's a 4th round pick as well. He's coming out so highly thought of, and he's been talked up so much during OTAs and minicamp, which I know he's footballing shorts, but he's been talked of so positively during that time. I can't see them not having him on the wide receiver roster.